Hey YouTube. So this is Auto, and I just came out of Quantum. Here we are at Port Olisar. I am in a Super Hornet, and this is pretty much a video about the experience I've had in 3.7 over a period of probably about 12 to 15 hours, I'd guess. Um, okay, I'm just going to go down through the list one at a time. I'll try to point them out. I'm sure the Super Hornet will cooperate and show you that the issues are real. At least the one we're having. Okay, number one, when you go in here to go to your missions, the ECN alert mission. I've done this mission like over a dozen times. It randomly drops. It will just disappear from you having it, and you have to retake it to pick it back up. Okay, that's one problem. So it just randomly disappears. Number two with the ECN mission, I've completed it and not been paid for it. Most of the time I was paid for it when I completed it, but I did have at least one known time where I completed it, was not paid for it. So that's number two. Number three, I think it was another one. Oh, the ECN. I'm not sure what their goal is with the missions. What I'm saying is like I've done this mission several times, and you'll come in here. I'm using a Super Hornet, okay? And so I'll fight like 2 to probably 6 Buccaneers, usually. Okay, it's anywhere between there. Sometimes it's 1 or 2, sometimes it's 4, 5, 6. That's usually the norm. Probably 2 or 3 times now, though, I've had 2 plus Caterpillars plus Buccaneer escorts, Cutlass Black escorts jump in. That is way overkill on an 1800 credit mission. Especially when you take into account some players are going to be running around in Mustang Alpha starters and Auroras. That's way overkill. They can't even touch that mission to start out with. And I'm sure there's going to be some good pilots out there. You're going to be able to take down the Bucks, right? But you can't touch the Cats, and you're not going to do so hot when they're coming in with Buccaneer and Cutlass Black escorts. Okay, it's just a huge waste of your time. And so the ECN mission definitely needs some attention. There's some bugs going on with it, and it needs some balancing. And to put this into perspective, this is another one of the points. 1,820 credits for this, right? You have to pay for your ship's repairs. Ship repairs are not just if your ship is damaged, anything major. Ship repairs are also minor. If you ever notice, if you just fly your ship, I've flown my ship from, let's say, Olisar to maybe Delamar or any of the other rest stops, okay, all over the verse, right? And when you stop there and you land your ship down on the landing pad there, if you press F2 or whatever and then go into your ship, into your controls here, vehicle maintenance service, you can literally repair your ship from just basic travel. Okay, you didn't even get into a dogfight. It's just basic travel. Okay? And so that costs you money. It's not just fuel. Okay? I didn't even get into dogfights. I just took off from Olisar, flew somewhere, landed, checked it, boom. It wants me to repair my ship for nothing. And so now you got to pay for repairs, you got to pay for your hydrogen and your quantum. Okay? And that's all got to come out of this 1,820 credits for this mission. Okay? Now this mission, if you're coming out of Olisar, is over in Yella. And that's not too far. Okay? But you're going to have to pay for, apparently, scratch and dents from just basic use of your ship. And so that could get relatively... I'm not really gonna call it tedious, but if you're doing well with credits, it's not a problem. But if you're bouncing on E, credit wise, and you're constantly getting nickeled and dimed for not even getting into dogfights, that could be a problem. This mission is not paying out a lot, and you're paying for repairs that didn't really even happen. The damage didn't even really happen. You're paying for fuel and you're paying for quantum, and that's assuming you do super well in the dogfights and you're not. Getting tore up, because if you get tore up past your shields, then you're going to have even more repair. So it's all got to come out of here. And so this mission definitely needs some balance. And I'll put this into perspective here. Here we got a delivery. Right here's a delivery one, okay? You pick up at a rest stop, CRUL1, and you're taking it over to Hicks Research Outpost on Selin, okay? It takes you a little while to travel these. Okay, you're going to spend anywhere between probably 20 minutes to probably 40 minutes or so total on some of these delivery missions. Okay, in order to travel all the way out, pick it all up, and travel all the way back, drop it off, and get it all taken care of. And it's just most of it's quantum travel time. But look, it's not costing you ammunition. It's not costing you any excessive wear and tear on your ship. But it's all coming out of close to 4,000 credits. Okay, this is a lot more lucrative, all right, than this one, especially when this one will drop you, sometimes not pay you. But the delivery ones are more lucrative, but they're not even paying a ton, but they are paying, some. So by the time you're done paying for your repairs, both your types of fuel, you can make, probably 38, maybe 37, 38, or so, and some change, 1,000, 3,800 or so, because you got to pay for those other miscellaneous. So that's if you don't get hit with any jumps. That's if you don't get interdicted by a bad crew and you get messed up out there. I guess that was another thing, and I'm not sure what their plan is with it, but if you're getting interdicted and you're taking down an entire squadron of, say, like 6, between Cutlass Blacks and Buccaneers and all that, you need to be getting paid something for that. I don't know if maybe they clock it and say, good job for cleaning up the sector, for taking care of those pirates or whatever, and you can collect some type of miscellaneous bounty for them. But that's a lot of wear and tear on your ship and guns to even engage them. Right now, it's not even worth your time to engage them. You might as well just leave them out there in space, and as soon as you come out of quantum, pop your throttle and take off, hit full throttle, and just walk away from them. Don't even engage them. Because it's not doing anything for you. All it's doing is costing you. Okay? And so that's what I literally did at first I didn't, but then after a little while I thought about it. I was like, these things are doing nothing but making my repair barrel higher, tearing up my ammunition, right? And taking my time, making a mission that's already not paying me a whole lot, make it take far longer. And so there's no point in even engaging them. So I literally just started, as soon as I jump out of quantum and get hit and I seen it wasn't the police scanning my ship, I just hit my throttle and take off. I wouldn't even wait for them. You get 50,000 or so kilometers away, they disappear, and you can jump back into quantum, and you're done. The whole thing can take less than 2 minutes. And so that's a problem, too. The risk-reward between this mission, right? You're just traveling some, and you're paying maybe 150 or so AUEC for repairs and fuel by the time it's over. Maybe 200, depending on how far you really had to quantum. And I'm assuming we're talking about a starfighter here, okay? Not a bigger ship that takes a lot more fuel, okay? Probably a bigger repair bill because you're covering more area on a ship, general wear and tear, and possibly even an inefficient quantum drive. I don't know what your quantum drives are. Some are better than others. And so what your payout is going to vary. But this one is just delivery, right? And you can run if there's any issues, and so the risk for this is relatively minimal. But this is definitely a trouble mission, and it's paying you much less than a delivery mission. Okay, this one here needs balance better. It needs to be giving you more than this for putting your ship and your life and everything on the line. So those were problems, but check this out. So look, if you noticed before a little bit ago, I'd already had this canopy closed. This is another one of the problems. The Super Hornet is randomly opening its canopy all by itself. And it will do it the whole time you fly it. At least, see? It just opened all by itself. And so I'll shortcut it, hotkey my closing. That's why I have a shortcut for closing my exteriors, because of this problem right here. I've had this happen during quantum. I've had it happen in the middle of dogfights several times, where my canopy just opens. It's like it's trying to get me shot by a ballistic bullet or something. And so that's been a problem. Let's see what else we got here. I was doing another mission yesterday. It was a security mission where you jump from area to area and check it out and destroy anything that's there, right? And I got to the last one, and I did a high-speed pass past a Gladius. My ship was fine. I had 2 tiny red spots in the front nose. It was like on the right and the left of the front nose. The rest of the whole ship, was green, like you can see it right here on the screen in the top left. and I did a high-speed pass by him. There was no missiles. I didn't even see gunfire. It was a clean pass, no collision. I got a couple rounds off on him and kept shooting, shot right past him. I was about to swing back around. My whole ship exploded. I have no idea why. So it brought up a question to me. If you have any area of your ship that is red, and that area takes damage, okay? So if it hits 0 HP, there's the canopy again. If it hits 0 HP, does that instantly destroy your entire ship? If, like, you know, something is broken? Whatever happened to that part of your ship is not critical. And so if it hits 0 HP, it just breaks off and you lose the functionality of it. Because, like, I'll give you an example. Let's say your wing, okay, is that area's turning red and you bust it off or something because you're taking too much damage. I don't know. Maybe it's only the parts on the ship. Only critical parts can turn red. I'm not really sure how it works on each individual ship. All I'm thinking, though, is why do we not have parts of our ships that are getting busted and damaged off in, you know, regular use and in dogfights that don't make the ship explode when they hit 0 XP? I'm sorry, not XP, but 0 HP. Because all the rest of my ship was perfect. Okay, relatively speaking. Okay, I mean, there was some scratches, a little tiny wear and tear, but nothing major. But the reason I'm asking is because during that event that happened with that high-speed pass, what I noticed was after I shot past him, sorry, I had to get some water. After I shot past him, I noticed that there was a part on my nose that around it that after I shot past him, like 2 seconds after I shot past him, the whole thing, for a very brief second, shot dark red, and then the entire ship exploded. And I thought to myself, okay, so there was no missiles. I didn't see any gunfire, which it may have been a visual bug, but something definitely happened that was undiscernible. It was a clean pass, no collision, and if the only way I was able to see it is because I actually recorded it, okay? And I was out there and I was making a vid, and then I canceled that because of just it turned into a mess, and I was just like, what in the world just happened? And that wasn't the purpose of the video. And so I stopped it and I went back and I watched it, and even now I have it posted, but it's unlisted. And it's a total clean pass, and then my nose turns, part of it turns redder, that was fine before, and yet I see no hit whatsoever. No collision, no missile, no gunfire, nothing. And that's what brought up the question, can you not have a part of your ship that gets destroyed and busted off without your entire ship blowing up? Because that's what I seen. I seen from the picture in my cockpit, you see those two little tabs on the left and right of the cockpit, just the nose part of the cockpit, up there in front of the intakes. The intakes are the square sections on the right and left, okay, that's just behind the head of the ship, okay? So your intakes are like these right here. You see that big square, that black square right there? That's an intake, and this over here is one right here too. That's an intake. So the parts that were red, and it was only a very small piece, were those two little tabs sticking off either end of the head of the ship. And so I thought it was strange. I was like, well, how come something didn't just get destroyed and busted off the ship and leave the ship functional? Because that's not the main hull. Okay, I didn't see that it was a main power. It wasn't like the power supply of the ship, right? And it wasn't one of the main engines of the ship or something back here. And so I'm like, why didn't that just bust off instead of destroying the entire ship for some tiny little spot that had taken too much damage and busted off? And so I still can't explain what happened in the high-speed pass. I have no explanation for that. I don't know what happened with it. We shot by, it was totally clean, and 2 seconds after I passed, it went deep red around those tab areas, and then the entire ship exploded. So I don't know, maybe there's a bug issue going there, but I'm still curious if we have parts of our ships that can get destroyed and busted off and the ship still survive. Or is it the weakest link of the ship has now become the place of the ship, of every ship you should target, because when it's, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 500 hit points hit 0, it will destroy the entire ship, not just that part. And so now it's not about the strength of your shields. It's not about the strength of the hull of the ship. It's not about any of that. It's about finding the weakest link on every ship and just destroying that, so it will make the entire ship blow up. I don't know. Okay, next part. Yeah, the canopy's busted on the Hornet. Okay, this was a good one. Starter ships, like the Auroras and the Alphas and stuff like that. Even like the what's that other little ship that people like to buy? I can't remember what it's called. It's not a starter ship per se. It's like a $60 ship. The Avenger, that one. Yeah. When they're doing some of these missions like the ECN, well, sometimes I'm doing that mission and I've got like 2 caterpillars spawning in with Buccaneers and Cutlass Blacks as escorts. That's way overkill for an 1800 credit mission. And I know that, some people be like, well, this is an alpha. Yeah, but this is positive player feedback. This is what we're experiencing out here, okay? And this is what we're seeing is broken. 1800 credits is not even close to worth that kind of risk. And ships like that entering for a routine, I don't know, a lot of times you get a freelancer out there that you're protecting, a civilian freelancer. Once in a while I'll get a Constellation. Sometimes when I get the Constellation, that's when I get the caterpillars and stuff spawning in. Most of your starfighters and stuff, they can't touch ships like that. Most of your pilots out there aren't going to be able to do that. And so that's like mass overkill for that kind of mission. Definitely needs balanced out. Definitely your starter ships aren't going to be able to touch stuff like that. I know there are some pilots. I did post one video on the channel where it was called ECN Surprise. I did take out one of the caterpillars with a Super Hornet. But that's crazy because that ship is running large shields, too large, too small. That's a whole different class of ship compared to these small starfighters. You shouldn't even be fighting ships that large unless you're doing it in groups, right? You're not going to solo stuff like that on a regular unless you're doing some kind of ace level mission. But on a norm, those ships are mass overkill for these smaller ships like this. If you're going after ships that big, you need to be going out there in vanguards and, bigger ships like that. So that definitely needs fixed. Another issue I had, my Banu Defender. I went into the ship functions to be able to, modify your ships, like you can under here, vehicle loadout. If you're standing in like Port Olisar or somewhere like that, you can go into these here. Okay, let's see. I'll just go to the, what do we got here? I'll go to the Hammerhead. Okay, so here you can see my Hammerhead, right? And you got all your different pieces that are on here, okay? And let's say I want to switch one of these out. These are all missile racks. Right here's a Rhino laser, right? Let's say I want to take this Rhino laser out, okay, and I want to put one of these other things on it, okay? So I did that. I was monkeying around with the Banu Defender, and I pulled off its tachyon cannons, and I put some other stuff on there, right? And maybe I can even pull out my Defender right here. It's read-only. That's what the red lock means. It's probably sitting somewhere that's out of my range. That's why I can't modify it. If your ship is sitting in a hangar somewhere, then you can usually access this stuff and change it. But if it's sitting away from you in another starport, like far away somewhere, it usually will put up a red lock and won't let you change it. And so you got to look. If there's a red lock, you can't change anything. And so I pull up this ship, and look at this. I have Badger repeaters on it. Yeah, there went the canopy again. But I have Badger repeaters on it because after monkeying around with it, it won't let me show you. I'll actually see if I can pull up. I can't pull up one of the other ones. Yeah, I'd have to be in Port Olisar to show you it fully. So I pulled up the Banu Defender and I changed its loadout, right? And so I went back to change it back, and its tachyon guns disappeared. They are not showing up in my list of guns to be able to mount back to the ship. And they wouldn't mount on anything else because originally what crossed my mind was I was like, oh man, I'll remove the tachyons from the Defender and I'll put them on the Super Hornet just to see what it's like. Maybe I'll run like 2 of them or something, right? So I pulled them all off the Defender, went over to the Super, went to put them on, and they don't even show up in the Super Hornets list of applicable weapons. So I was like, okay, they're not in the list, so I can't mount them. So then I go back over to the Defender, and I click in the gun slots to put them back on the Defender. They're gone. I don't even have the guns anymore for this Defender. Okay, I believe I lost them as soon as I took them off. And so there's definitely a bug there. Okay, the brand new Defender guns are not working properly. What else we got here? Yesterday, I was on my brand new Defender because I was doing some delivery runs and stuff with that. And I was switching between my weapons, pressing 1, 2, 3. Okay, on the not the numpad, but up above your keyboard. And I'm pressing 1, 2, 3, switching between the various guns. It is not switching guns properly. Okay, it's broken. When I'm pressing 1, 2, 3, I should be getting the appropriate weapon. I was not. A lot of times I could press a number and it would do nothing. I had all 3 loadout spots filled up. I'll bring you into here into the weapons here. Okay, so I'm under weapons here, and I had a S71, okay, as a primary. Secondary, I was running a scalpel. Third, I was running this Executive Edition sidearm, okay? And I'm switching between them, and half the time I'm pushing the buttons 1, 2, 3. I slowed down. I was going slow, so it would have time to catch up. If there was server lag or something, it was not switching weapons. It would not switch weapons. And so that was broken. Several times, it would remove one of my guns from even being equipped. Yeah. And so it would just randomly pull it off of my character's back. And so I'd go back in my backpack, and it's still sitting there, but it just randomly would unequip it. Well, the same thing happened to me yesterday. I was out by a place, and I crash-landed my Defender, and I flipped it all over, and it was quite the wreck. I was surprised the ship didn't explode. That's actually happened twice in the Defender. The Defender has proven to me to be a very hardy ship, apparently. I don't know if it's going to stay that way, but that's how it was. So anyhow, I roll it, okay, and I end up getting out of it, and I'm 20, 30 feet in the air by the time this thing's done rolling on this mountainside. And so I hop out of the Defender, and I'm like 20, 30 feet down, and I land down on the ground. The gravity helped me so I didn't bust my legs. And so I put out a beacon, okay? Those that don't know how to make beacons, you go over here, you go to here like you're going to get a mission. You go to beacon, you go to create beacon. So I was like, personal transport. I'm like, take me to Port Olisar. Where's Olisar in here? So I'm like, take me to Olisar. Oh, whatever. It was Olisar, but I'll put Lorville in. And I'm like, okay, it's a real quick trip. I'm not too far away, so I'm like 500 credits. So some guy picks it up, right? As soon as I put it out, someone picked it up. And I was like, okay, so I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And I hear nothing in chat, okay? And I'm waiting quite a while. Never shows up to give me that ride. And so there needs to be a function that prevents people from taking missions and wasting people's time. Okay, there needs to be something that says this is a contractual whatever, and failure to comply with this, whatever will in turn cost you. It will either cost you crime stat, or if you're broke, or it will cost you credits. Credits that are sent to the individual for you wasting their time. And so there needs to be some system that pops up every so many minutes that says, are you still working on this mission? Is things still going well? And you click yes or no. Or you want to cancel the mission. And that feedback needs to be given back to the person that originally was waiting for that ride. Okay? Because if you change your mind 15, 20 minutes in and you just abandon them, that person is still sitting there waiting, thinking you're still taking the mission. So I don't know what the plan is. I don't know if you can go into your accepted missions and click cancel, and if that cancel will go back to the original guy and tell him that the first person that took it canceled it, so they're not waiting around twiddling their thumbs, waiting for that ride. So that was part of the problem. Okay, they definitely need to make the system of doing contracts with others more robust. There needs to be something that lets the player that put it out there know that the person is coming. okay, and your time's not getting wasted, and you don't have to cancel that one and put out another contract for someone else to get you. And so it's just too basic right now. It needs to be more robust. But what happened to me when I was standing out there waiting, I was monkeying around with my weapons as I'm waiting, and I was flipping between my S71, the scalpel, and the pistol again, right? And while I was doing that, the scalpel disappeared off my back, and I was like, okay, so I go into my inventory. It's not there. It completely disappeared. It wasn't dropped on the ground. Trust me, I ran all over it, like right there in that little area I was standing. I didn't go anywhere. And so I was standing right there, and I'm looking. I'm like, nope, it's not on the ground, because sometimes you can put your gun on the ground. And so it completely disappeared. And so not only did it remove it from my back all by itself, but it also completely disappeared the gun. So the gun disappeared and all the attachments, and that's like 8,000 or so credits, which was quite a bit, because I was doing these missions one at a time, trying to save up enough to get enough credits so that next weekend when we're doing an org event, I'm equipped for it. Well, that just wasted quite a bit of time, especially with these missions that seem to be partially broken. And especially for someone who's just starting out in the game, checking it out, if they're running around in like a starter ship and they started with 5,000 credits, losing a whole setup that's 8,000, that's a big deal. And so, again, this isn't complaining that there's issues here, because we know that it's an alpha and it needs fixed. This is bringing up there's a problem there. Okay, guns should not be randomly disappearing off of your back, and you shouldn't be having problems flipping between them. Okay, they shouldn't just be disappearing when you're trying to rotate between your loadouts. So that's broken. Let's see here. Okay, this was another problem I had. So I was doing that ECN mission, and I did it several times, but several times I had problems with it dropping and not getting paid. And so eventually my money was like, my credits were all the way down to a little bit of nothing, okay? And I got fined because I accidentally ran into the civilian ship at one time when I was dogfighting around it, hitting the bucks and stuff. So I hit it, and I got fined 1,000 credits for an 1,800 credit mission. And so I was like, wow, that was garbage. And so I was fined for that. And so what it did is it took my credits and put them into the negative. Okay? And the problem with that isn't that I was in a negative. The problem is when I went back to Port Olisar to do a claim on one of my other ships, okay, so that I could refresh and do something else, I could not do a claim. The claim would not go through because I had a negative balance. Okay, so my current credit value, I don't know why. I don't know if it's a break in the code or if they did it on purpose. But your current credit balance should have nothing to do with whether you can claim your ship or not. Okay, because your insurance is valid. It's bought and paid for. Okay, I'm thinking like long term with like people that are running LTI. If they go up to that terminal flat broke, they shouldn't have a problem claiming a ship with LTI with insurance that's already been prepaid for and taken care of. And so that's definitely a problem. I could not claim any of my ships, and I had 3, 4, 5 of them sitting there that I don't use a whole lot, but I was going to. And then I go to click claim, and I couldn't claim anything. I was literally almost transportationless to take care of stuff. I had to start jumping into the much bigger ships, and I don't really like doing that for these tiny little payouts. I don't like pulling out the big ships for tiny payouts. And so I had to pull a Constellation Aquila out in order to move one box. And that was way overkill excess. And because I couldn't claim any ship, but I had to make money somehow so that I could get out of the hole. And the moment I got my credits above the hole, I ended up with like 160 credits above after I got rewarded for some mission. And I went back and I clicked claim. And as soon as I got a positive account balance, it would then allow me to claim. And so that needs fixed. Because your credit balance shouldn't have any bearing on whether you can claim a ship that you've already prepaid for insurance and all that on. Those things should just go right through. So that's a break. And that's it. That's been my experience so far with 3.7. I don't think I've ever made a video about a long list of problem areas in one of the patches, but this has been by far, so far, my worst experience in any of the patches. There's only one other critique. I'm going to throw it in because I'm not going to make a whole video on it. This wasn't so much a bug as it is a critique of what happened. the Cutlass Blacks. I was flying a Cutlass Black yesterday, and I used to give that ship the MVP award, okay, because of its value that you were getting for it. But now the thing moves like a slug. It handles so bad. It actually handles in comparison to like a Constellation, with its turning and rolling and stopping and starting. It feels horrible. I have now removed the MVP reward from it. I don't know if it's a problem with the ship or if it's something they plan to keep long term, but if it is, I can no longer recommend the Cutlass Black to anybody. It moves too horrible. You can't dogfight in that. That thing is so sluggish. It is like, it feels like a ship 3-4 times bigger than what it is. It feels horrible now. That's all I can tell you guys. I was been flying around, and a lot of times I dogfight in a Super Hornet. And for the most part, I consider the Hornets to be kind of almost on the bottom level of what you want for handling. Okay, there's a lot of ships that have way better handling. And so when you get worse than a Hornet, and especially in that size category, you're no longer a dogfighter. Okay, because you can't maneuver well enough to keep up with anybody. And that's what I was experiencing in the Cutlass Black. Stopping and starting and rolling, turning, everything. It was so bad. I was like, I was in Callie's, or I guess in Star City, as Kyrie's Cutlass Black. And as soon as we felt that, I was like, well, I don't know if it's going to stay that way, but if it is, we're getting rid of it. Because that's garbage. So that's just my feedback on the Cutlass Black. I'm just kind of throwing that back in there. I hate the way it feels now in the 3.7 flight model. It's so bad that I've removed the MVP reward from it, and we'll be getting rid of ours if it's not getting changed. We usually use that ship for a variety of different things because it's kind of like, it does a few things well, or did. It still hauls well, but I wouldn't call it it's no longer a dogfighter with that horrible handling. I can't recommend it to anybody for dogfighting now. I feel like the handling is actually worse than the Constellation Aquila. And that's a much bigger ship that you would expect to be a lot slower and more sluggish. But that is kind of where the Cutlass Black feels now. It doesn't have quite the same, like when you're rolling or something with the Aquila, it takes a while to pull it back because it is so big, and you expect that in that. It doesn't quite have that bad, but it moves so poorly that I wouldn't recommend the ship for anybody. I would literally at this point tell them to go fly a Mustang Alpha or a Starter Aurora over that ship because whatever they did to it, it looks like the yaw, pitch, and roll acceleration is horrendous, and so is the braking and slowdown of it. It's so bad that I just recommend now people stay away from it because it's almost like I don't really want to call it a fatal flaw, but it's so poor now that even though it's got benefits in other parts of the ship, that part of it is so bad, which is a main part of every ship, that I can't recommend it. So between those bugs and the balance issues, and now the Cutlass Black is now on the blacklist instead of the good list, that's kind of my 3.7 feedback for now. I don't know that I'm going to give back any more. I've just been having too many problems with this patch version. I actually forgot. I got disconnected from it probably about 2, 3, 4 times in the first day I tried to play it. It kept saying DC, check your internet connection. So I go up and do a speed test, and my speed test is coming back flawless. I do a ping test. My ping tests around the whole world are coming back 10, 11, 12s. They're pretty much flawless. And so it just kept DCing me. So I was having problems there too. It's just, I know the devs are working real hard on this, and I know all these won't be here indefinitely. And I know there are haters out there of Star Citizen. I'm not one of them. I'm still a fan. This has just been my experience with 3.7. And so if maybe others are having similar experiences or whatever, I know they're working on it, and they'll get them fixed and stuff. But if nothing else, this is a punch list of what needs attention. All right, y'all. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you in the next one.